16. Nowadays, it is more convenient and easier for people to travel to other countries. Is this a positive or negative development? In contemporary society, it is more convenient to travel internationally. In my opinion, it is an enheartening change for the following reasons. Firstly, this phenomenon has gradually accelerated culture exchange. Many behavioral studies have shown that although it is invisible, immersing oneself in other cultures is the most effective way to learn about cultural differences, thereby helping travelers to show tolerance to cultural divergence and avoid predictable conflicts derived from the lack of mutual understanding on racial, religious, political issues. Thus, it will be a grave mistake to overlook the fact that the increased convenience of international travel is directly proportional to the increase of learning cultural diversity. For example, in the past, Arabians used to consider Westerners as their foes for different religious beliefs. However, thanks to higher interaction between Arabians and Westerners in every walk of life including tourism, now they have concrete relations with their Western allies in many fields. This example is the illustration of the fact that the rapid growth of international travel has silently eliminated ethnic hostility between people from different cultural backgrounds. Secondly, the counter-argument raised by objectors to this is that the mushrooming development of international travel has negative impact on environment. Because airplanes, which have been the main means of transnational travel, are huge producers of carbon dioxide and other ozone layer eroding gases as they rely entirely on oil for operation. Besides, natural resources which are extremely vulnerable to external disturbance like coral reef, aqua ecosystems have been abused and damaged by recreational activities such as boating, scuba diving. This argument is reasonable to some degree. However, it is incomplete. What they fail to take into account is the fact that by replacing old engines with cleaner ones, people can mitigate the environmental impact caused by flying. Meanwhile, governments can minimize destructive effects on local habitats by imposing severe punishments to deter potential lawbreakers. In conclusion, the more convenience to travel abroad is generally a positive trend for reasons mentioned above. (17) More and more plastic waste has polluted cities, countrysides, and oceans. What problems does it cause and what measures can be taken? Plastic refuse has contaminated towns, rural areas, and marine wildlife. In this essay, reasons behind this phenomenon will be discussed, followed by appropriate solutions. Firstly, unethical businesses are widely recognized as the chief culprit. Investigations have shown that although it is invisible, most giant companies which are peddling the myth of recycling as a solution are actually earning huge profit from single-use plastic packaging. Under the facade of taking social responsibilities such as donating money to local charity organizations, using non-virgin materials, producing animal cruelty-free products, many manufacturers have been keeping using plastics for private wealth. Secondly, another factor that has added fuel to the fire is the fact that plastic waste floods into the countries that aren't prepared to manage it. For example, at the beginning of 2018, China stopped accepting the world's waste, including plastic, paper, and textile. Previously, Chinese recyclers had accepted recycled plastic waste from the world's top exporters, USA, UK, Germany, and Japan, to feed the country's demand for materials. All of that practically stopped in 2018, and waste started to flood into next victim, Southeast Asia. In tackling this problem, some effective and feasible measures should be adopted simultaneously by local governments. To be specific, the government should encourage citizens to abandon disposable plastics. By launching educational campaigns to raise public awareness of detrimental effects of plastics on users' health, authorities can indirectly discourage consumers from using plastics. According to researchers, 90% of the plastic items in our daily lives are used once and then chucked. Grocery bags, plastic wrap, disposable cutlery, straws, coffee cup lids. These products may release microplastics that cause fatal diseases when they are stored or used in inappropriate environment like refrigerator, microwave. If people are informed of this information, consumers are highly likely to cease using plastics. Besides, investment in research to invent alternatives to plastics is another promising solution in the long run. In conclusion, the heavy reliance on plastics of profit-oriented producers and legal loopholes are the main reasons. Solutions to this require government's intervention as mentioned above. When you learn a foreign language, all four skills, listening, reading, speaking, and writing, are equally important. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Nowadays, individuals are frequently exposed to various types of language learning at an early age to chase the pace of globalization. It is argued by many linguists that people need to give the same level of attention to four skills in order to achieve proficiency in the language they are learning. However, I disagree with this viewpoint. Firstly, it is noteworthy that modern world is greatly polarized by specialization in industrial sectors. Nowadays, studies have shown that although it is invisible, an increasing number of people may only study languages for specific working purposes in narrow field. Therefore, it would be an overkill to give the same weight to these four competencies. For example, in a foreign company whose main business is mechanical engineering, contrary to public belief, many professionals do not have to speak English fluently. Because being able to read designs and reply emails proficiently is enough to get the job done. This example is the illustration of the fact that spending time to improve listening or speaking may just be complementary but not materially help to advance work performance. Instead, they need to put more efforts on reading and writing. Secondly, the counter-argument raised by objectors to this is that learning four skills equally is essential to certain people. For example, for those students who major in a particular foreign language, mastering all these skills is beneficial to their further researches. Similarly, for those students who plan to further education abroad, they must pick up all four skills to better live and study in a foreign country. This argument is true to some degree, however, it is incomplete. What they fail to take into account is the fact that a foreign language is more applied in reading and writing for ordinary college students. In fact, they often need to read numerous foreign references and articles as well as write reports in foreign languages. Meanwhile, most students are not given opportunities to communicate with foreigners and therefore speaking and listening skills are relatively insignificant. In conclusion, while the balance of four key skills of language learning is important, it is unwise to force every single one to know all these well for reasons mentioned above. Surveys show that in many countries, people are living longer, but increased life expectancy has many implications for the aging individuals and society as a whole. What are the possible effects of longer living for individuals and society? Investigations have pointed out that in many parts of the world, longevity has been prolonged. However, increased lifespan has been accompanied by problems to the old in particular and society in general. In this essay, potential influences on individuals and community will be discussed. Firstly, it is noteworthy that dramatic increase in life expectancy is not directly proportional to the increase in quality of life for the elderly. Medical studies have shown that although it is generally invisible, increased life expectancy has increased the risk of disability, dementia, dysmetabolism, and age-related diseases. Therefore, it will be a mistake to overlook the fact that longer longevity may intensify the seriousness of chronic diseases that have negative influences on the old's physical conditions. For example, statistics have proven that 30% of the population over 60 may become demented before they die, and this proportion is growing exponentially as a result of the aging population. This example is the illustration of the fact that under the facade of prolonged longevity, the old may fall victim to more health problems. Secondly, the counter-argument raised by objectors to this is that the expansion of aged population is a positive development. Because the old can constitute a major workforce as a compensation to the lack of young laborers in countries with low fertility rates. This justification is reasonable to some degree, however. It is incomplete. What they fail to take into account is the fact that the older people are the lower work productivity. Thus, their contribution to businesses and society is limited because surpluses created by old workers cannot be compared to that by youngers. For example, in developed countries where low birth rates have become increasingly alarming for labor shortage, the immigration of highly skilled workers from other countries has been promoted as a strategic solution rather than the abolishment of compulsory retirement ages. From this example, one can observe that aging population may exert chronic impacts on national economic performances. In conclusion, higher longevity may bring about more health problems to the old and labor crisis to countries as mentioned above. 20. A lot of young people do not know how to manage their money when graduating from high school. What do you think are the reasons? What can be done to teach them this important skill? In modern times, many young people are unable to manage their money properly and lack financial management as well as budgeting skills. In this essay, reasons behind this phenomenon will be discussed, followed by potential solutions to resolve this problem. Firstly, the lack of proper training in personal finance provided by parents is widely perceived as the main reason. Behavioral studies have shown that although it is invisible, children and adolescents tend to imitate their parents' actions and shopping habits. For example, some parents prefer to spend than save. And influenced by such spendthrift roles, their children may also focus on the quality of life rather than save money for the uncertain future. Secondly, another factor that has intensified the seriousness of the problem is that schools often lack personal finance classes and focus exclusively on core subjects such as science, mathematics, and reading. Because many students are not exposed to personal finance either in school or at home, they are likely to struggle when making real-world financial decisions upon graduation. Therefore, it will be a mistake to overlook that overemphasis on academic subjects at schools has failed to equip students' budget planning skill or teach them financial literacy. In tackling this problem, parents should take proactive actions. They are recommended to take the initiative to educate their children on personal finance topics. For example, they could start by teaching their children about the consequences of shopping spree and misspending, thereby helping children to develop good saving habits. Then parents should be involved in family financial decisions to help children practice how to avoid impulsive buying decisions or spontaneous desires. Besides, another equally effective solution is that school systems should also implement mandatory personal finance courses in their curriculum and ensure that students learn basic financial literacy skills. For instance, alongside regular classes, schools could integrate on-site and online workshops to supplement personal finance classes. Thanks to such classes, Students are able to obtain a comprehensive understanding of necessary money management skills before graduating high school. In conclusion, the lack of parental guidance and lack of instruction at school are the main reasons. Solutions to this problem require concerted efforts from both parents and schools as mentioned above. Some people argue that holding sporting events is beneficial to countries' development. However, other people hold the opposite opinion. Discuss both views and give your own opinion. Some adopt a view that holding sports events does a great job in boosting the country's development. Nevertheless, the objectors argue that it could bring about many problems. In this essay, justifications for both schools of thoughts will be discussed, followed by my opinion. On the one hand, it is noteworthy that sports events contribute significantly to local tourism industry. Studies have shown that successful organization of sports events, especially the ones on global scale, typically the Olympic Games and the World Cup, is often accompanied by the upsurge in the number of foreign tourists. Accordingly, some domestic industries like catering, accommodation, transport and entertainment are promoted in leaps and bounds to satisfy the requirements of more visitors. Therefore, it will be a mistake to overlook the fact that holding sports events exerts conducive influences on host countries' development. On the other hand, the opponents may argue that it may be a waste of national financial budget to build facilities just for short-term use. According to studies, although some major sports events may attract a large number of visitors and increase tourism revenue, host countries have to invest huge financial sources in building new sports facilities and infrastructure, such as stadiums with larger capacities. However, when these sports events end, not all governments make good use of those new facilities, and many stadiums become unused. Obviously, this is a misspending, and the gains obtained from building such new facilities may not outweigh the losses caused. Taking all of the above-mentioned facts into account, it is my opinion that host countries can benefit from holding sports events because of not only the economic gains but also the opportunity to communicate with the world. Hence, holding sports competitions will impose positive impacts on the country's development in a long run.